This is the Jordan 1 that every sneakerhead loves to hate. The Jordan 1 85 band is the perfect sneaker that every sneakerhead in the world is furious about right now, and for good reason. The name couldn't be more fitting because 99.9% of us felt actually banned by Nike from buying this pair. Who in their right mind would create something this perfect down to the 1985 OG shape, every sneakerhead's literal dream shoe, and then drop only 23,000 pairs worldwide? Well, this guy, Elliott Hill, Nike's new CEO, who promised shareholders he would shake things up, make Nike the motherfucking man again, and love him or hate him, he's delivering on that promise. His strategy is basically giving sneakerheads their worst heartbreak since their first crush left them on red. And it's working. People are forming lines longer than Swifties just to get a pair. Camping outside stores for days, and even fights are breaking out with certain releases. And the biggest sign to me that the sneaker hype is officially back, something I like to call the besides Travis effect. Meaning, if any sneaker that's not a Travis Jordan 1 low is skyrocketing on the resale market, that means the sneaker game has resurrected. Nike is making Jordans desirable again, and while resellers love it, sneakerheads are losing their mind. But I won't lie, having these in hand feels different. Nike's evil plan is actually working. I'll probably sound like a sellout, I know, but the hype is real. There's something special about this one. This is Nike's love letter to MJ with more Easter eggs than a Marvel post-credit scene. From board lasting to the hidden Chinese message that I'll totally show you right now if I wasn't too lazy and actually forgot to record that part by the time I'm actually recording the script. This sneaker is a love letter from Nike to Michael Jordan's legacy. This is kind of like when Brian Ithiar dropped Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for PS5 and gave us one of the best versions of Peter, Miles, and Venom ever. This is what happens when a fan of the product gets creative control. Designed by actual Jordan 1 and MJ fans, it's packed with small but powerful details, like the excellent quality Easter egg and the sizing on the inside. These details all basically tell you, yeah, we did this one for the culture. Attention to detail, immaculate. Storytelling on point. If Nike keeps dropping sneakers like this, they might just pull a Jordan and go 6 for 6 on iconic releases this year. Speaking of Venom, that's exactly what the Jordan 1 85 feel like once you break them in. At first, the thick, stiff leather fights your foot like it's trying to reject the symbiote, but give it time and it molds to you, becomes one with you, your second skin. But for a closer look on the material, I'll now hand it over to our resident leather expert, Klaus. My son, take it away.
Hola amigos, it's me, Klaus. This Jordan 1 High is macho nice. I mean, it's not a boot. Boots are the best, but I like the leather. It's thick like my tail. Adios.
Thanks, Klaus. The toe box, perfection. Like stepping into a cloud that actually respects your personal space. Way more comfortable than past Jordan 1 releases. And the heel collar, the thing is a Mona Lisa level masterpiece. Except you don't just look at it, you flex it. Everything about the sneaker is really good. The padding inside, 5-star hotel luxury, the kind of comfort that makes you wonder why your bed isn't this soft. I only feel bad that most of you won't experience this in hand. But hey, that's why I'm here. Just pretend this pair is yours and live through me, man. YouTube magic, right? The Jordan 1 85 band dropped on February 14th, making sneakerheads feel the love or heartbreak. Because with only 23,000 pairs worldwide and a $250 retail price, most people took an L bigger than Kanye's bank account after the Adidas split or the recent stuff that he said. For the EU UK sneakers fam, Nike played games with us like a toxic ex. First, they hit London with a sneaker stash, aka Sneakers Hunt, on February 8th, where exactly 874 pairs were stashed in store. Then on February 13th, exclusive access went down where Nike blessed half of the remaining stock like they were handing out golden tickets to the Willy Wonka of L's. Finally, on release day, only 2,547 pairs were left for battle. So when you see people say 23,000 pairs were made, on release day in EU UK, only 2,500 pairs were available. That is mind-blowing. I secured my pair at soulbox.com where I went for size 9.5, and out of 737 pairs, one of them ended up in my hands. How? Simple. Stash Sneakers private Discord. They had all the inside info, and if you haven't checked them out, well, good luck surviving future drops without them. I did a video how I exactly copped this sneaker. You should definitely check that out. Leave the link in the description. Meanwhile, US sneakerheads didn't even get a sneakers release. Nike straight up just ghosted trim and dump the stock into store releases and raffles like an exclusive club you didn't even know existed. Can we all just take a moment to appreciate my dedication, because I'm out of here filming B-roll footage in February in Sweden, bro. Coldest month of the year. I'm out here risking frostbite just so y'all can get to see these sneakers in crispy white 4K. My toes were colder than Nike's love for EU sneakerheads, so the least thing you can do, hit that subscribe or comment. You know, either one of those things are fine with me. I appreciate the support. I actually went true to size. A lot of people say maybe you gotta go half a size up, but because of the changes on the toe box, true to size was perfect. The red lace swap is out of this world. Just take a look at it. But yeah, that's about all the praises I can give without sounding like a paid Nike spokesperson. So I think that about covers everything that I wanted to say in this review. Didn't have anything negative about the sneaker itself, only that Nike made it impossible for you to buy the product. That's the negative part. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bred.